Hi, I'm in the mood to talk about some stuff. I've had a lot of things on my mind recently, and kind of just doing this as a way to try to put my thoughts into words and see if that helps organize them any better. If any of you have noticed, I've perhaps been a little bit more distant than usual lately. I'm aware of that, and that's sort of what I want to talk about here. There are complicated reasons for that. So, a few months ago, or a little longer, I forget, sometime recently, I made the choice to leave an online friend group that I had been a part of for a very long time. This would have been about 17 years now that I was in this place. It was just sort of a group of like 1 or 2 dozen people who hung out together in what was an IRC channel for a while. There was a Discord server, more recently, a chat room. But we all knew each other really well. A lot of us had met up in person. And I don't know, various reasons caused me to decide I didn't fit in there anymore. And I chose to leave. So I think that had some cascading effects with how I interact with the rest of the world and people in general, and just has been on my mind since then because it's a fairly major thing. It was a fixture in my life that I decided was no longer good for me, and I made a change to leave it. I've never talked about this before here. This was sort of a very personal thing. But yeah, I'm going to talk about it now. So I sort of looked at the communication channels that I have with the outside world and noticed that they've been dwindling over time. For example, I once had a Facebook account, but I closed it because I do not like what Facebook does. There were a lot of reasons. I just did not want to be a part of that system in any way. I have a Twitter account. I barely post anything on it anymore. It's fairly rare. I mostly just read things, and even then I kind of skim. There are just a lot of things I used to do with people that I just don't do much or don't do at all anymore. Now, there are kind of two sides of this. I don't want to shut myself off completely from all social interaction. I want a balance. But I do deliberately tip that balance towards solitude. When I moved to this house a couple of years ago, it was largely for the purpose of getting away from being around so many people. Like in my old place, I was in downtown in my city. It's not a large urban sprawl or anything. It was a moderately small-sized little town, but it had a lot of people in it. And that was the context in which I was living. So now the context where I'm living is sort of out in the outskirts of a rural area. I don't have to listen to anyone's noise if I don't have to, if I don't want to. I'm just away from people now. So a normal week for me, I settled into this routine after a little while of being here. I'll go out once for groceries. So I'll drive to the grocery store, buy what I need for the rest of the week, come back home, and just be alone here for the rest of the week until I do that again the next week. I have a few friends I see in person occasionally. They're all busy with their own lives. We only make time for each other every so often. So, I maybe see another person, like break that routine and do something with someone else once a month or so, maybe. So, that's my in-person social life. I'm mostly okay with this. Just the sort of person I am is fairly compatible with this. I want a little bit of human companionship, but right around that amount is about right. So, this YouTube channel here is pretty much my main social outlet right now. And I want to make sure that it's in line with what I desire to put out into the world. So I've kind of been thinking about, what do I personally offer as a Let's Player, as a YouTube channel? I offer Let's Plays on my YouTube channel. So that is the type of channel that I have. with some extra stuff like this right here, on occasion. So when I play a game for YouTube, my purpose with doing that is to create and archive the experience of the interplay between the art object that is the video game and a player, me. So video game preservation is one thing. I think it is important to keep these works of art preserved and available in playable form in perpetuity as much as possible. They are worth preserving. But the artifact that is the video game itself is a different entity than the experience of playing one. So I am creating and capturing and archiving an experience. Everyone's experience is unique. This is my experience with the video game. I think that's worth archiving. It does not replace archiving the video game itself, but it captures a part of it. And anyway, so that is the sort of artistic vision that I'm coming at this from. I also try to focus on lesser-known games to some extent, because things that are popular are already well enough covered. They are sufficiently archived. So I want to contribute to the archival of the other things that I think are worthwhile, but for whatever reason have not gotten the attention of these larger things, you know. And sometimes I do something just for myself, even if I don't look at a game and say, oh man, there are lots of other Let's Plays of this already. Millions of people have played it, therefore I cannot play it. I might, I'll sort of trend away from that a little bit, but a lot of the time I still want to play it and have that experience. Again, experience is unique, so even if hundreds of other Let's Plays of a game exist, mine is still a unique thing, and that's somewhat worthwhile. It's just that it's in an already saturated space. So I try to focus on the spaces that are not saturated. I aim for solitude, even in concept with things like this. But another thing that I've noticed that I can provide is I have a pretty stable life here. Removing so much of the social element gives me a great deal of predictability and stability. So I can be a stable, constant presence. I can stick to a schedule. And if you happen to like the way that I do things, and you have, this parasocial relationship with me, where you know lots of things about me, I know maybe your username on YouTube and a couple of comments you've made once. That's fine. Parasocial relationships are their whole other topic. Anyway, but if that's something that you like, then I can provide a stable, constant presence. This is something you can mostly count on, with a few exceptions. Every day, I will put up at a fairly regular time an episode in my journey in the video games that I am currently playing. So I like to be able to use my stability. There is a bird trying very hard to get into my window right now. Hi, bird. What are you doing here? Do you want to be part of this video? It flew away. Well, that doesn't happen very often. All right, then. Usually they just crash into the windows and then fly off. That one was sitting there and looking at me. All right. Anyway, where was I? Right. Yeah. So, stability. Anyway, and I like to keep things positive as much as I can. If I'm putting something out into the world, I want to avoid the negativity. And this is complicated. A habit that I've noticed I often have is that if I get asked a question and the answer is no, I'll often just opt not to answer that question. that's an oversimplification, but I don't like to communicate negatively. And I don't know, I have trouble finding a balance between that and actually, it might just seem like I ignore every question that's asked of me. I still make an effort, despite YouTube often making it difficult, to read every comment that comes into my channel, so I keep up with everything. If you've written something to me, I've almost definitely read it. But I don't reply all that often. I'm trying to sort of push back against that tendency because I do want to be able to talk to people. Communication is important. It's just, it's really hard. Anyway, so a couple of relevant changes I've made and am making. A while back, I stopped using the final tag in video titles for the last episode, what I think is the last episode in a series. A few people noticed, a few people asked me about it. I haven't actually talked specifically about it, but that is an intentional change. It preserves the sense of surprise for the people who like that at whether a particular thing that goes up will be the end until you actually go through the process of seeing what the experience is, how you got there. And also leaves things open in case, every once in a while, I'm not sure if I'm done with a thing, and I need to do some research on my own afterward to see if, is there more to this game? Do I need to see more here? Sometime I'm not sure. Or, some epilogue exists, some extra expansion to the game comes out, and then it's awkward to have, this thing that's tagged, Final, episode 44, then okay, here's episode 45. Post-final. Do I put another final on after I get to, 50 and finish this extra thing I wanted to do? I don't know. So just not putting the tag on in the first place just solved a whole bunch of problems all at once. So that's why that's gone. Something that I am going to try doing going forward, starting with the next LP that I start. Not sure which current thing I'm doing will finish first, but I have a pretty strong lineup of games coming up right after that. Something I'm going to do is I'll try to give a mission statement at the start of each LP that I do, which I think will help contextualize how I wish to interact with that game, and perhaps help guide the comments that I get about extra information for me about the game, for example. People like to share things, I understand, it's great. I like to play without outside influence, but every once in a while this I'm aware this is a constant source of conflict, and I keep trying to find better solutions to it. I don't like to be told things about games that I'm playing if I haven't had a chance to see that thing already, but sometimes I play something that I've already played before, and it's totally okay to talk about these things, and I don't like to create this situation where, looking at it from the other side of the table, I'm somebody who's commenting on a video. I want to share this thing that I experienced, which is super cool in the game, with the person who's playing. But do I take that risk of maybe ruining their chance to experience this thing if I know they're open to that sort of thing, or if I know that they're, it's just not great to have that as a risk of causing a conflict when I, as the person on the other side of this table, am trying to just put some extra positivity into the world. I don't know. That dynamic just has continued to be a problem, and I'm hoping a mission statement at the start to give context for what I want out of the Let's Play that I'm doing, how well I know the game, etc. We're going to try it, see how it goes. Anyway, yeah, so flip the table back around. I'm on this side. I'm the Let's Player now. All right. Question for the people who are here. What do you want out of a Let's Play that I do? When you come to my channel, what do you expect from me? Are there any expectations you apply to me? Are there any that you apply to me that you don't apply to other people you watch if you watch multiple people? I'm just curious about this. Do you come to me for one thing and come to someone else for something else? I don't know, just wondering, what are your thoughts on this? Anyway, so there's lots more I could talk about, but that was the most organized of the things I'm thinking about. I'll try to keep the communication channels open. Again, I like my solitude, but not absolute isolation. So I'm trying to find the balance. It is tricky. All right, so I think that's about as organized as I'm going to get on that topic. Thanks for listening, I guess, and I'll see you next time.